everything I'm cooking with measured and ready. I've got the molasses, I have my hot water, I have my eggs, my brown sugar, my butter that I have softened in the microwave for a couple seconds, and then my dries, which I will sift with my sifter in my bowl. I also have my pan, and I also preheated the oven. I have my trusty recipe here. I try to keep it a little bit below the counter so it doesn't get too dirty. But we're gonna just start. A couple things. First of all, we start very, very much like we start a cookie. Typically in most cakes, they either start with the butter and the sugar, creaming to start the rise process, or you'll start with eggs, whether it's an angel food, a genoise, or another type of cake that requires eggs to rise, in which case you would beat the eggs until they trickled. One thing that I do want to mention is I'd prefer if you guys didn't start with any type of meringue. A meringue is egg whites with hot, simple syrup, only because it's a little bit dangerous to deal with simple syrup that's at that high temperature. You might find a buttercream recipe for a cake that mentions a meringue. Try to stay away from that, because right in the beginning I'd like to start a little bit easier and with less safety concerns. So first of all, I'm going to start, as I said earlier, with my warm butter. It's very soft, as you can see. I can just take my little thumb and press it very, very easily. That's how you know it's very well softened. You don't want it melted though, you just want it to be soft. So I'm going to throw that in and start with my sugar. And I've got my 3/4 cup sugar. I didn't have a 3/4 cup, so I used a 1/2 cup and a 1/4 cup. And now I'm going to bring it up and turn it on to get it light and fluffy. While that's working, I will sift my dries. So I've got my bowl, my sifter, my flour, baking soda, salt, cinnamon, ginger, cloves, more flour, and I will sift. If you do not have a sifter at home, you can just use a simple whisk. You won't get the lightness of the flour, but you will certainly get the mixture. So you can, oopsie, just made a little mess there. But you can just go ahead and take a whisk. Here, let me just grab my whisk. It wasn't close enough to me, sorry about that. And you can just whisk your dry ingredients. A lot of times the recipe won't ask for sifting, but we'll just say incorporate. They mean with a whisk. So we're gonna add the dries at the very end. So the next thing I'm gonna do, that I've creamed my butter and sugar, and I wanna show it to you so you can see it. Let's see, yeah, I think you can see it there. It's really light and fluffy. Okay, now the wets. So I'm gonna add my molasses and my eggs, and first the eggs one at a time. And I think I've mentioned this to you before, but if not, I'm gonna repeat myself. Sorry about that. I'm gonna always crack flat, not on a surface. If you crack on a surface, it forces the shell in. If you crack flat, there's less of a chance of that. And then we're gonna go ahead and take this and add it, turn it on. Always add your things when the machine is off. Get this ready. Okay, I have incorporated this. Let's have you see it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And now, thank you for the close-up, Beth. Gonna go a little bit faster just to make sure the sides get a little bit in there. And then I'm gonna add this guy, and after this addition, I'll scrape down the sides with my trusty rubber spatula. Okay, so let me scrape it down. You're gonna lower, turn off the machine. Do not do this while the machine is running. That would be dangerous. Oopsie, this came out. There we go. And I just wipe this off like this, bring it back up. So that we can have a really nice even batter. That looks really good. And what I'm looking for is a smooth consistency. I'm looking for no chunks of butter. Now what I can do is go ahead and add the molasses. So let me bring this guy over. Lower this guy one more time. And we'll get a little spoon so we can get every little bit of molasses out of that half a cup. And I try to keep everything dirty in a bowl or a cup rather than on the counter, so there's just less to clean up, okay? So bring this back up and turn on. I'm gonna be looking for you turning off machines and incorporating ingredients, turning them back on. Once that's a uniform color, it's completely incorporated, now I can add my dries. So I'm gonna lower this again. You can see it's a beautiful brown. And now I'm gonna just add my dries. I find it easier to do it this way with a cup. You can do that at the very end, but it sometimes spills. Okay, let's bring this up. And the last thing I'm gonna add after this is the water. So after this is incorporated about halfway, you're gonna add the water. The water, it actually makes it a little bit more liquidy, adds more moisture, and it's also going to begin the reaction for the baking soda. Because as the baking soda gets wet, it's rising. Remember, the baking soda doesn't have a brain. It just reacts to it being in the presence of moisture or water. Okay, that's pretty well mixed. So now I'm going to stop, bring it down, and I have to take my pan. You can see that there's a little bit that's not totally mixed. That doesn't bother me because I'm going to use my wonderful rubber spatula to fold in the rest of it. You might ask, well, why don't you just keep going? Because if you keep going, you run the risk of overdoing your batter. Whenever you have baking soda, especially, more so than baking powder, you really run the risk of over mixing, in which case it'll kind of bubble up and then sink down. I don't know if you've ever seen that, and it'll leave tunnel holes, which are the reaction of the baking soda. So the next thing I'm gonna do is grease my little pan. I've got a little paper towel and a little bit of Crisco shortening. And I'm just gonna take about a tablespoon worth. Make sure that I get it right in the seams of this pan because that's where it sticks the most. And as Miss Riccardelli was telling you, we can just add a little bit of flour to this and then tap that out. So as you can see, it's kind of a lot, but that's okay. It's better to be safe than struggle later. So I make sure it gets into those weird seams on the side because that's where it really sticks. I'm going to go ahead and add a tablespoon of flour and move it around. Hold on. Okay, and this is how I like to do the flour business. I basically like to kind of bang it on the sides a little bit. And then all this excess is getting thrown away. I'll just throw it away in the sink. You don't want to put this back in your flour because now it has grease on it. That'll infect your flour. So try not to put back used flour. So now we're going to take this out, and as I mentioned, we're going to fold. So what I do is I just go like this, fold in that last little bit that might have held on to the sides, and then we're going to fold this right in. And I should be this way. Okay, get that thing about using a rubber spatula is it really enables you to just clean out this bowl. And I don't think a wooden spoon does as good a job. Okay. So now I'm going to just spread it out so it's got a nice flat surface, because remember, it's got to be completely even to cook. And I make it go all the way to the end. And if you get a little bit of batter on the sides, you might want to clean that off, because it's a little bit harder once it bakes to get that off. And you can take your clean finger and just get rid of the rest of this and smooth it down in. Okay, and that is it. Why did it go so quickly? Because I had my mise completely together. I had everything ready, and that's the point of the mise en place. It's a boom, boom, boom situation. A boom, boom. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven. I'm going to put it in this upper third. I'm going to bring you over so you can see where it's at. So let me grab you. All right, my babies. You see? It's sort of like upper third. It's not quite half, just a little bit above. That's going to go in for 35 minutes. So I'll put my little timer on. They said between 30 and 40 minutes. I just made one earlier today, and I know for a fact it's 35 because I did it for 30 and then gave it 5 more. So are there any questions with regard to this demo?